I don't know. I think the core of it is basically, we've realized over the course of the last bunch of years that it's songs. It's about songs, and it's not about, it is about like what you wear, and it is about what you look like, and it is about your music videos and all the rest of that crap. But like at the end of the day, if the song's not good, or if the song's not going to resonate with anyone, the music video is not going to help you, and I think there's so much of a focus put on all the other shit and the Twitter accounts and what you're doing online, which is all important, but it's not enough focus is put on just having great songs. And so we've entered this like dark phase over the last few years where like the songs, there's great songs, don't get me wrong, but like the song has become less important. And so I think, our focus, both of our focus is like we want to be songwriters, not business owners.
There's this part of me that wants to argue with you so bad because I think
excellent.
Because I think I'm fortunate enough that I've talked to people going back people in their 70s and 80s who are musicians, and I spend a lot of time watching sort of these kinds of interviews from back in the day and stuff, and the piece that comes back to me over and over again is the kids these days, what I call the kids these days idea, right? And it's every generation as you go through, it's like, oh, it's not as good as it used to be, but right. And meanwhile, things just keep getting better,
right?
Right? And to me, as much as I sort of get that like music and the imagery and stuff is being pushed out, we're all paying more attention to like social media and we're staring at our phones and all that. I think even 20 years ago, people like you and me wouldn't have a route for the world to hear what we had to say.
Well, I think that's true. I think there's a lot more democracy in general with art, and there's a lot more art. And so what that tends to do...
I know exactly where you're going.
It just makes it a lot easier for anybody to get a little heard.
Yeah.
And it's not... it really isn't actually that syndrome, because I do think some of the best music is now being made right now.
Okay.
And probably not just getting its due. And a lot of that is because of where the big money people choose to focus their energy.
Sure.
And they don't really focus on developing artists at all. So going back to your question about like what I believe like a record label needs to move its attention to, you can still make money from songs. And you can still make, money from developing an artist over the course of a bunch of years, like they used to do 20 years ago and prior. But I feel like we had to fight to develop ourselves, right? And it's kind of a wonder that Fast Romantic still exists, because it was a battle to be allowed to develop ourselves, and we're still developing ourselves. A lot of bands die off way before they get through that process. And a lot of bands get lifted up and get that $4 million contract, long before they've developed. And unfortunately for them, they get like one or two singles, and then they have to go find a job, after the money's gone. So like that's always kind of been around, but I feel like the weight is getting more and more towards that type of business, and the way that larger record labels invest. And I think, they could invest in just great songs. And focus a little less on the vanity of it, and the vanity would take care of itself. Great artists take care of their own vanity.
It's funny because it's sort of this constant battle between the idea of team building, because like you said, nobody can do it all. Like nobody's going to have the entire skill set. And I know people with large skill sets, but ultimately there's going to be holes, right? So you do have to have that team of people that know what they're doing to fill in those gaps. And that can be a lot harder to sort of fill in. But I think ultimately, with less gatekeepers, there's more opportunity. You know what I mean?
There's still gatekeepers. There's still a ton of gatekeepers. They're just like kind of hiding out in different clothes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But there's lots of opportunities. People are making music in their basement that gets,
totally
so many streams on Spotify.
Who's like one of the biggest artists in the world is Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
Right? And it's her and her brother making it in her basement. And then the major label was like, yes, please.
Right.
That's a great example of like things that went well. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but we need more of that.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know that I don't know that you need that gatekeeper, for lack of a better term, but I don't think you necessarily need that person like handing out those checks. I think there's
No.
Pardon me?
No, God, no.
I think there's a way, especially, have you looked at like, have you seen the side door?
Yeah, Dan Angus thing.
Yeah. What do you think about stuff like that? Because I think that's brilliant.
Yeah,
I think it's
cool.
brilliant.
And that's the kind of thing where you use that network for like good.
Right.
And there's another.
I want to hear, you keep sort of like dancing around. There's a story sitting behind all of this. I don't know if you're necessarily comfortable talking about it, but I really want to hear it.
Probably a lawsuit waiting after that.
Is it a jaded story that's brewing?
The thing is, like, it's a lot easier to be jaded when you're trapped in something, and I think it's less jaded than ever now for me, and you know. But the music business is a jadedness trap,
right?
You know, if you're not careful. So I don't like. It's actually not a dim picture, and I don't feel that way at all. But I do think like I still stand by the idea that like songs in general and the art of songwriting is sort of the afterthought, you know, and a lot of it's done by committee now, you know. So that could change, you know, and I like the idea of putting more energy into that.